Yeah, hi, a very warm welcome, Mrs. Andy. This is rest in peace, Arthur Rafferty Sr. and Arthur Rafferty Jr. Arthur was a campaigner in Belfast for the murder of his dad, Arthur Rafferty Sr. Um, and today we hear that the government's refusal to name the IRA spy known as Steak Knife is bordering on farce. The former head of police investigation into his crimes, which implicated MI5, said today, following a 9-year investigation dubbed Operation Kennever, a report concluded that Steak Knife, Britain's top spy within the IRA, committed gross, serious crime, including murder and torture, with MI5's knowledge. Widely named as West Belfast Republican Freddie Scappaticci, Steak Knife's identity has never been formally confirmed owing to the government's policy of neither confirm or deny NCND in relation to security matters. But following publication of the report, John Boucher, who led Kennever before being appointed Chief Constable of the Police Service of Northern Ireland, PCNSI, urged the government to officially confirm his identity, adding that the current situation is untenable. John Boucher, by the way, was contacted by Arthur Rafferty Jr. regarding his dad, and basically given the runaround. A question, it says, whether this decision protects again agents, or rather, does it actually protect the government and intelligence agencies from accountability for historical wrongdoing, he said. He said naming him would lead to government scrutiny and accountability that would ultimately strengthen national security. So that's Freddie Scappaticci as Steak Knife. I'm going to play a video to you after this. I want you to have a good old listen as me and Arthur Rafferty talking in days where he was trying his best to get justice for his dad. Sadly, Arthur Rafferty Jr. did die recently in the last 2 or 3 years, during or after COVID. His last video of April 2019 with me that I can find, it says rogue Irish police officers colluded with the IRA during the Troubles and even stopped senior members being arrested. Former Republican intelligence chief claims Irish police tipped off the IRA about planned arrests. A new book claims former RIA intelligence officer Kieran Conway makes the claims. In the book, Mr. Conway alleges top Irish politicians and bankers also supported the IRA. A secret probe found no evidence of collusion between the IRA and the RUC. Members of Arthur Rafferty's family claimed the RUC covered up his death. Mr. Rafferty was murdered by IRA in Belfast, that's senior, in 1974 in a gun attack. His family claims the killers worked as informants for the RUC in Belfast. The police ombudsman of Northern Ireland found no evidence of this collusion. Well, it's the 12th month, and Arthur Senior was shot at number 12, the house number in the street where he was shot. Yeah, take a listen to this recording. It's absolutely wonderful because me and Arthur Rafferty Jr., we knew a lot about the case at the time. What's your thoughts on it anyway? Do you think RA covered all this up with the government? Do you think the MI5 have got a right to do this? Is Steak Knife Freddie Scappaticci, who is actually dead now, says his wife? Yeah, comments please below. Take care and enjoy.
Thanks very much, Andy, for inviting me onto your show. Without your show, people like me would have no help at all. I'm here, Andy, as you say, to get the truth about my father's murder. He was murdered in 1974, and I have been fighting all along since that to prove and to find out why these people shot him. and also why the RUCPSNI, the so-called police force in Northern Ireland, were involved right up to their neck in it. After all, they supplied the person who murdered my father, Freddie Scappaticci, a.k.a. Steak Knife, who's also a British agent working for the British government. They also supplied him with the armled rifle and the ammo to shoot my father, and they also paid him out of the public purse. Now what sort of a police force is that to do that? Plus they also employed hundreds of members of Sinn Féin IRA as informers who done work for them, and also loyalist organisations who done work for them. And they were out and they shot innocent members of the public here in Belfast. And the only reason was because they were Irish. And I want words, I want truth. I want this fellow brought back to Belfast to stand trial. Now, he has been in Belfast quite recently here, and the police ushered him in, ushered him to do his business, and ushered him and put him on a flight back home. As I said, Andy, I can go into details about him, but I want to give you your say.
Yeah, no, it's shocking that he wants to. I mean, we're talking about Freddie Scappaticci now. It's a shame that he feels like he wants to. Let's put it this way: sexually abuse animals, or yes. Allegedly, but he's been proven that he did that. He's been given a particular sentence for that. Now, if the guy can do that, I'll also bring up some sore points that I've read. I've only read them because I've been anonymously emailed them. It's probably on the internet, but I haven't found it because I can only do so much in a day or in a week. But it was alleged that your dad was abusing children. That's why, sorry, not children, but maybe a child. I can't remember now. It's one or the other. I've got it somewhere. And that's why the IRA murdered him. But thank God, the police found and the Ombudsman, the inquiry, that there's no evidence of that. That was just the IRA saying, this is why we murdered him. That's a separate issue in a way. But I find it shocking how the lengths people are going to cover up the truth. And let's face it. I'll let you say more in a minute. This inquiry with Mr. Butcher, the Chief Constable of Bedfordshire, retiring in July, his last day. Funnily enough, it's the day I go on holiday. Anyway, I find that normally, if the police have done bad things, then another police force that investigates them in an inquiry is a good thing to do. But I think in this case, we're talking decades of troubles. We're talking multiple police forces have been involved. Northumbria, for one, I had a little message on Facebook that Northumbria was doing things to cover up what the IRA were doing, certain officers there. So this is a systematic failure of, if even that, it's probably more than that, because some person told me recently, a few weeks back, that the British police and the MI5 actually paid the IRA to do these bombings. That may not be true. It may be true. We haven't got any evidence until other people come forward. Please prove me wrong on that one. We've also got evidence that Sinn Féin, the DWP, all the paramilitary groups at the time, was raping and abusing children and women. There's no evidence, of course, only what you see in the media. I mean, I'm hoping that, for their souls that it's not true, but this is what's all come out of the British people deciding, let's do a few murders in Northern Ireland and cover it up. Sorry, I mean, I'm not even religious. I'm not even political. I just speak from the heart. Over to you, Arthur.
Right, Andy. I'm glad you brought that subject up, because Sinn Féin IRA are notorious for doing that. They must have done that on about 12 to 14 people. Murdered them, killed them outright, then slandered their name, just to harden the pool. And that's coming from an organisation where the leader of the IRA here, father, was a paedophile, and his brother was a paedophile. And also, Maria Cagle was a member of the IRA, a top member of the IRA too, and the IRA took her into their office and raped her. So these people can talk about nobody. What they would say, I would take it with a pinch of salt. I went through, after my father's case, spent 44 years checking all these up, yet you won't get these little behind the doors IRA men coming out with a little 6 stories. And I can tell you from me, all the checking I done, I went around every hospital in Northern Ireland, checked everyone, doctor surgeries, clinics, not a sinner. No one was fucking ever touched or raped by my father. Yet these dirty animals, that's all I can call it. There's no other word for them. Animals. They've done that dozens of times on poor people. They can't only kill them and let them rest in peace. No, but they have to slander their family and their names and the people. Most of the people that I know, I have spoken to a whole lot of them now that has happened to, and they wouldn't fight them because they were afraid to upset them. Whereas I did fight them, and I'm still fighting them.
No, I mean,
and for the cheek of that family, of the leader of the IRA, to talk about any family, my God, he should bury his head in shame.
Yeah, we hear things. The only reason we know these things is people either email us privately or they put it in the press. So that's the only reason I mentioned the little angle about Dad. It was in the national media, and they're bound to do that because we also know the national media, most of them, the mainstream, they don't report the truth.
No.
In fact, I don't think they do it deliberately. I actually think they're told not to report the facts properly because they don't want to annoy Joe Public. They don't want people to jump up and down and cause a problem. So they're trying to drip feed you like you would in a hospital, small bits of information. You know, they don't want to annoy the general public. But, you know, it's time that we all stood up and got behind Arthur Rafferty's campaign. Don't forget, you know, Arthur Rafferty Jr., he's had asbestosis all these years, but it took him a long time to actually get a proper diagnosis from the health board. They try to cover that up, which now leads you to help others, you know, with asbestosis. I mentioned on the last show or the show before that my brother-in-law had it. It was a builder, and, you know, they blamed it onto his smoking his 2 or 3 roll-ups a day. He didn't smoke a lot, and there wasn't proper cigarettes, so pure tobacco. Because pure tobacco has got no chemicals in it. So they blamed it onto him so he couldn't have any compensation when he died, or his wife couldn't. The system's mad, but we shouldn't waste time on worrying about what could have happened. We've now got to worry about what can happen, and we need people, good people, even bad people. But either way, we need you to come out and tell your story, and, you know, only your soul and your heart will forgive you. You know, some people can forgive you also. I'm probably going to forgive you. Maybe Arthur here can't forgive you, but at least if you speak out, it will help you. And that's the way I look at it. I'm not playing a psychological game. I left school with no qualifications. I'm just speaking from a spiritual heart. Sorry, Arthur. I get a bit passionate.
Andy, also, I find it hard to understand. I've been fighting my father's case by myself, a one-man show. And the whole of the British government, the whole of the RUC, PSNI Special Branch, the whole of the court system, the whole of the legal system here have all turned together. They bonded together to make sure that my father's case never reaches the courts here. Now, so that in itself proves my point. Now, at the present time, what I'm planning on doing, is to take my father's case down to Dublin and get some legal firm down there to take his case and take it to the European Courts of Human Rights. Because these courts here and the police here, they have made my life hell. I'm stopped at least 5 to 6 times per week in my car, trailed down in my car, asked where I'm going and where, and like they know me of old. And they're only doing this just to annoy me, hoping that my sickness takes me away, and that would be the end of my father's story, because no one else in my family is fighting it.
Yeah, looking at it sort of from their point of view, I do understand. No, what I was trying to say is, I can understand a little bit the way you're feeling about them. I'll put it a different way. If they find, let's say, 10 IRA people that murdered people, they've got evidence, concrete evidence, and they're going to prosecute them, because this is what the Chief Constable of Bedfordshire wants to do. He's going to prosecute, he said, IRA murderers. Now, what about just this one small what about if they haven't actually got the 100% evidence to prove that your dad was murdered by Scappaticci, but they do have evidence that he was murdered by an IRA person? You know, it doesn't help if they destroy the evidence, does it? Because that's what they've done. They destroyed all the clothing and that from that flat in Newington Street.
Yeah, I say it only because, and the reason I am so sure, I had 2 long meetings with Brendan Hughes. Now, Brendan himself was dying with cancer, and he spoke to me, and he gave me every item as it happened to my fella. He knows because he was there at the time. He was one of their top men. He itemates it all right down to the man who pulled the armor on my fella and shot my fella. He shot 12 rounds at him. So my fella was running down the street at close range, and that animal couldn't get enough bullets out of the gun. He shot 12 bullets out of the gun. 5 of them missed him, and 7 missed him, and 5 hit my fella in the back. So yeah, he meant to shoot my fella.
I think on another show we said, why is it 12 Newington Street, 12 bullets in Dad, or at least he fired 12 bullets? Is that some kind of satanic symbol? But, you know, we're not really that bothered about that. But I just find it a bit, because there's another 12 in the same story, and I've forgotten that one. But, yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
And another thing on me, when I'm speaking about 12 Newington Street, that house was a safe house for the IRA. Now, the police knew that all along, yet there was no one in that house questioned about who lived there or who not. So therefore, the evidence was all taken and given away. And as I've said, the police went up to the hospital and got my father's clothes. That was put in a police station in North Belfast, York Road, and lay there for years until there was talk of me taking him to court. And all of a sudden, it disappeared. But what didn't disappear was the tie. When I went down to identify my father in the morgue, his tie was lying on the table. And there was policemen standing there. I took the tie and put it in my pocket. Now, I wanted to have it sent away to have DNA done on it. And I mentioned that to the police, and they wanted to take the tie and have DNA done. But I refused to give them it. So I still had my father's tie here with spots of blood on it. So I will be trying myself to send that to an independent firm.
Wow.
So I can have the truth.
That is dynamite.
I still have the tie in my pocket.
Yeah, that is dynamite. I mean, it may be your dad's tie, but your dad's blood. But
yeah.
Let's hope
it's
not. Let's hope it's the killer's blood.
The police wanted to take it off me. They practically threatened me. They were going to do me for taking it out of the morgue. I said, well, if I had anything else in the morgue, that was a way too. But I have it, and they're not going to get it. And there's a firm in Manchester, I'm told, that does this, the tests, and I'll be in contact with them.
Yeah, well, you've told too much information on air already. Why don't you send it away somewhere independently from where you live? You know, even trust it in the post, because it's worth. It is worth probably sending it to forensics firm. You know, they might charge £100, but it'll be worth every penny, because you know people listen to radio, you know, and they'll be definitely following this show tonight, because I've sent it around. But I've sent it around because I want people to come forward and, you know, solve the problem. That's all it is. You've got a problem. I've got a problem, because we don't know the truth in this case. And it's, you know, this is what I wanted to say earlier on. I got a bit tongue-tied because I'm so passionate about stuff. They, obviously the IRA was told that they killed, the police ombudsman agreed that the IRA said that they killed your dad. Now, with this inquiry going on, fair enough, if Scappaticci didn't kill your dad, what are they actually doing to find the murderer of your dad? Sweet nothing. And this is what we need them to realise. And if, you know, the inquiry team from Operation Canova is listening, you know, just answer Arthur Rafferty Jr., we'll call him, you know, his plea: what are you doing to find my dad's killer if it wasn't Scappaticci? And what are you doing? Because the public actually says he's not steak knife, not the public, sorry. A lot of people are saying he's not steak knife. He doesn't think he's steak knife himself. So let's clarify whether he is steak knife or not. Yes, in the media he is, but in some places he's not. And I've got a good source.
Sorry, Andy. Sorry. Yeah. Another thing, Andy, I wanted to just put in there. The police that I spoke to after my father's murder, I was in daily contact with them. The detectives working on the case made a series of blunders. These included failing to preserve and examine potential critical evidence at the scene. That is, all the bullets that was lying about, they just lifted them with their plain hands and put them into a plastic bag. Therefore, they were contaminated. Yeah. Also, failing to keep witness evidence or carry out a proper investigation, and failing to keep the family informed of the progress in the investigation. I have not spoke to one RUC person since the time I met them in the Royal Victoria Hospital in 1974, and they were to keep in daily contact with me. Never came near me or the family. And them questions I want answered. And also, the man that seen the person who shot my fella running away, a small, stocky person with dark black hair, he gave that evidence to the police, and they took a full-stop copy of it. And I went into the police station in York Road, asking them to see the picture, because I wanted to have a look at it. That went missing also. And the IRA sent 2 bullets for me into my house, our house. That's for your 2 sons. Get them out of the country. My brother Tommy left the country with his family, but I'm still here. And the 2 bullets disappeared from inside York Road Police Station. And that can't be a coincidence, Andy.
That's a big wow, that one.
Unbelievable.
I call it wow. It's the same as unbelievable, really. What do you say? I mean, all we can do is, ask people that are listening from Sinn Féin, from the other, political groups, to find somebody that they know in their areas, or even if they know, to come forward. Andy at freedomtalkradio.co.uk. Google, Arthur Rafferty Foundation. He's on YouTube. You got an email, you got a phone number. We can give that out later on if you want. But what makes me a bit worried about Michael Maguire, it's the police ombudsman. He says there was failures in the IRA investigation about Arthur's murder. There's definitely failures, but he says the police didn't do it deliberately. So what you said about picking up stuff and contaminating the evidence, is it possible that they didn't do it deliberately, but they're just lack of experience at that time and day and age? I mean, now, going forward, I'm trying to report both sides of the argument here. 20 years later, if that happens, they wouldn't contaminate the scene. Do you think that's due to lack of experience? But I mean, I don't know. It's just a sort of an observation.
Well, to me, only it seems it's all too much of a coincidence. Like, police are taught, at the other scene of a crime, they must wear gloves at all times and put anything they find in the plastic bags. But these people contaminated the whole lot. And not only contaminated the whole lot, brought the whole lot to the Yorkville police station, and then all of a sudden, it all disappeared, including my father's clothes.
Yeah, the disappearing part is definitely, I'd put that into collusion and corruption, but the fact that they contaminated the scene in 1974, whatever, 75, it was 15th of August, 74. Do you think there wasn't probably trained maybe that way in them days to put gloves on? That's a good argument, but the rest of it, that I'm saying, that it got lost, it got burnt, it got destroyed, that is out of, you just can't agree with that at all. You can't cover that up. You can't agree with it either. It happened. They got rid of it. It was wrong. That was 100% police, PSNI. That was wrong. But just maybe contaminating the evidence. They did that by mistake. But what annoys me, actually, now I've just realised what did annoy me. They're saying that the investigation, was a bit. Don't worry about that noise you hear. We'll wait for 15 minutes. They're saying there's a bit of problems going on there, but they weren't corrupt. But why would you destroy evidence if you weren't corrupt? Who ordered this evidence to be destroyed?
Well, if I could say another thing, a chief inspector was speaking to me from Knock at the time. He said the armalite rifle that was used in murdering my father has been destroyed. Then I found out from a top Sinn Féin person that armalite rifle was handed back to the Sinn Féin IRA and was used in 3 or 4 other murders. So you have to ask yourself, what was the police thinking about? And the way they're treating me on a 79-year-old man is unbelievable. Just to keep me quiet.
I know with just the asbestos problem alone, the health service is giving you hassle over that. I read that and I thought, basically, you're getting what they call low-level targeted individual. So all that will be is they'll mess with your emails, they'll mess with your phone calls, they'll stop you in your car like you've suggested. There's other little small things they do. You're low level because of your age probably. They don't think you're a threat, but it's not right. You shouldn't have to live like that for somebody who wants justice. You should really not have to live like that.
Another small thing, when I was on your show the last time, you know yourself, my phone was hacked. The police hacked into my phone. They got the name and address of my insurance company and stopped my insurance. And I'm driving about Belfast. All of a sudden, they bounced on me on the Falls Road, stopped me, knew my name and all, car and all, and they knew. They said, this car has no insurance. They dragged me through the courts. And 6 points of my license was taken. No fines or nothing, just the 6 points of my license. And now that is what you call a police force. They are nothing short of a joke.
And we know from other people in Belfast, especially our good friend that we know jointly. I won't mention it on this show just in case it backfires on him, but he's been stopped millions of times, all because he had a problem with a relative and they just wanted to take the mickey out of him. Now they stop him regular, or at least they used to. It's a shame what's going on. I've heard from mothers and fathers of forced adoptions in Belfast, and a good friend, campaigner for them, that I haven't heard from a little while, but Tracy Morris, she tells us about the families being, split up, but she's also given me, I think it was about a year and a half ago now, she gave me a couple of contacts that I ignored, but recently I've got in contact with them, and they are victims and proof that the paramilitaries, but in particular, the IRA and Sinn Féin rapes kids, regular and adults at that time, during them problems. I'm not sure about now, but at least in that era they did. And I hope Chief Constable, Chief Inspector, whatever his bloody name is again, I forgot, pardon my language, Bolcher. I hope you listen to the inquiry man, Bolcher, is it?
Yes, John Butcher.
John Butcher. I hope, sir, you're listening, and hope you're going to get your team to investigate that. It wasn't just about the war in Ireland. It was used as a political and a religious tool against each other. It was actually, I think it was man-made. That's why I believe the person who told me it was actually man-made, that the British will go into Ireland and cause rubbish. And then it was also said by this person who emailed me, they caused the religious people in the world to hate the white to hate the Muslims. Sorry, not the religious people, the Muslims. It is all man-made. I mean, I guess you could call it a false flag, but all these things, Princess Diana, we're not mad. We know what the truth is.
And another thing, only just if I may speak, not only has the police and the British state murdered my father, an innocent, unarmed man, and now they're harassing me, who am terminally ill with asbestosis, plus 6 weeks ago I took a stroke. But yet, that doesn't stop them harassing me. These people are nothing but animals, and I wouldn't need them only harassing me, but they are beginning to harass my family too. You have to ask yourself, what is this all about? They want to see me out of the road so that I'm gone, the case is gone.
Yeah,
and Scappaticci walks away free.
Another thing about this, hang on a minute. In 1978, the police ombudsman.org inquiry into the murders says in 1978, a police search of a social club in Belfast on an unconnected matter uncovered a handwritten document which appeared to be a debrief of Mr. Rafferty's shooting. The document made reference to 3 people's involvement. 2 people were arrested and interviewed in connection with the murder. And it says in 2005, a member of Mr. Rafferty's family provided police with names, not name, but names of people they believed were involved in the murder. Police later recorded that there was nothing to link the named people to what happened. Well, one of them, whether it's Scappaticci or some of the other names, it had to be one of them. But rely on your knowledge of your friend or the person that told you when he was dying who killed your father, because that guy, Brendan, was it? He had nothing to lose. He was dying. He could have just died without telling you, but he chose to tell you because he was a good person.
And another thing on it also points my way, because I was speaking to Brendan twice, and when he died, Jerry Adams wanted to go to his funeral and read and what do you call? No, talk about him. His family chased Jerry Adams out of chapel, wouldn't let him anywhere near the man. So therefore, there's more to it than that. And another thing on a chief constable out of Knock police station came to me, and I gave him the names of two people that I knew. They worked at the Belfast stocks, as I did, and my father did, and my brother Tommy did. I gave him their names. These two people used to talk to me all the time, wave at me all the time, stop to talk to me. Now every time they see me in the street, they run away.
Yeah, that's probably because they've lied to someone.
Yeah.
And they don't want to face the truth now.
If they tell the truth, you see, that's what I'm saying. I'm telling the truth. I'm hiding nothing. Every time I've spoke to people, and I've spoken to many people on television, on the Stephen Nolan show, on the papers, they've got the same story out of me over and over and over again. And the police ombudsman, Michael McGuire, when he told me that day in his office, the HCT was there too, I says you must be living in a cocoon. The dogs in the street know that the Sinn Féin IRA were involved in my father's murder and are informers. And I walked out and left them, and I haven't spoken to them since it.
Well, the Ombudsman did say that the IRA murdered your dad. They just didn't say who murdered your dad.
No, Andy. They also said there was no collusion between the IRA and the police. Is he for a joke? Is he for real?
Well, I suppose there's two ways of looking at that. But the most important one is, rather than upsetting them, is ask them, okay, if you believe Scappaticci didn't kill my dad, who did?
Yes.
And why did the evidence get destroyed? Blah, blah, blah. Why are people following me? Why are the police, stopping me all the time? Why is my insurance running out? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? It's simple. You're getting too close to the truth.
Yeah. And another thing on there, just another thing before we get into it. Recently, there's been a tablet of murders over in East Belfast, and the police are able to pick up people left, right, and centre for committing murder. Yet my father was murdered 74 years ago, and they haven't had one man in court. I've asked them that question time and time again, but never got any reply.
I'd also love to know the question, because on the internet, there's a lot of things. I've said it earlier on about Scappaticci saying he's definitely not state knife, and other people supporting that, but this inquiry saying he is state knife. Are they sure they've got their facts right with this inquiry? But we do know that. I mean, this is evidence. We do know with the Northern Ireland child abuse inquiry. We know about the London child abuse inquiry. I won't mention Scotland because they're doing a bloody good job, and they're not actually finished yet. But we know with all the other inquiries, the Lockerbie bombing. We know with all the other inquiries that have ever happened, nobody actually was ever brought to justice. Nobody, apart from the victims, suffered. It was just an inquiry that wasted millions of taxpayers' money.
And another thing on that, because this man's father died there just recently, Scappaticci, God have mercy on him. I had no animosity towards him. But the police flew Scappaticci in, took him up the Falls Road in a big black limousine, took him to the chapel, went into the chapel with him, sat at the funeral. After the funeral, down he came into the car and away back on the flight again.
Do you
now,
think
this is a police ushering and suffering a mass murderer who's killed tens of people here in Belfast?
I mean, sorry to ask the question, but do you think that was for his protection?
It was for his protection, but Why should they have allowed him in the first place to come back to Belfast, a city where he murdered many innocent people, including my father? I know that he's a police informer. He's well paid by the British government. He's one of their top men. He's their jewel in the crown, as they call him. And he's over in London now living the life of luxury, whereas my father's in a hole.
Yeah, and you won't ever be brought to justice, I don't think, which I'm normally a positive person, you know, and they do say that a lot of IRA people will go to jail, but, you know, and they've got 500,000 pages of evidence from 156 reliable sources. But, you know, the bit I still can't get into my head, which is a plus for your case, why are they covering up your particular dad's murder? This is probably what I tried to get out earlier, but I still didn't get it. Why are they covering up your dad's particular murder when they could cover up other murders instead? But if they're going to prosecute them murders, why didn't they prosecute the murder of your dad? What's the big deal about your dad?
The simple question is the easiest answer to that. You don't have to be Einstein to work that one out. This man has known. He's right at the top of the ladder, and he's dealing with top British politicians, top policemen, everyone that was there. He knows them all, and if he has to go to court and start talking, there'll be a terrible lot of people leaving the cities. That is the reason why.
No, I mean, put it a different way. We've got about 2 minutes. Let's say then, just for instance, Scappaticci didn't murder your dad, just as a hypothetical statement or question, but somebody did from the IRA. Why are they trying to cover up your dad's death? Okay, you mentioned about him.
Yeah.
But if he gets charged with so many deaths from other people, but doesn't get charged for the death of your dad, that's the bit I'm trying to work out in my head. You know, why is there such a big cover-up over you and your dad when he probably will go to, well, he might get charged with other deaths. Who knows? But we know the inquiries are bullshit anyway.
In 1974, in the Royal Victoria Hospital, I was speaking to a special branch man from New York Road. And he shook my hands and said, Arthur, I'm sorry, but you will never get any satisfaction because they can't allow this man to talk. And that was way back in 74. And that man was right. That's why I have very little hope of my father ever getting a fair trial here. They not want Scappaticci talking in court because he knows too much about them. He was told he's immune from all of his murders.
Even diplomats don't get that protection, do they?
No. Sure, even you just have to look at Donaldson. He was a probate. He had the police special branch, but he hadn't the brains of Scappaticci. He never put it down in writing, an affidavit. His solicitor on the Falls Road has a wrote that anything happened to him, he has to hand that over.
Well,
and that's why. That's why he's safe. He can go back to Belfast and go away. He can go down the hall. As a matter of fact, I'm speaking to two people there recently. He was down in the east coast of Belfast all the time at the caravan site. He goes back and forward here. He's allowed to do that.
In 1649, to St George's Hill, a ragged band they called the Diggers came to show the people's will. They defied the landlords, they defied the laws. They were the dispossessed, reclaiming what was theirs. We come in peace, they said, to dig and sow. We come to work the lands in common and to make the waste grounds grow. This earth divided, we will make whole. So it will be a common treasury for all. The sin of property, we do disdain. No man has any right to buy and sell the earth private gain by theft and murder. They took the land. Now everywhere the walls spring up at their command. They make the laws to chain us well. The clergy dazzle us with heaven, or they damn us into hell. We will not worship the God they serve, the God of greed who feeds the rich while poor men starve. We work, we eat together, we need no swords. We will not bow to the masters or pay rent to the lords. We are free men, though we are poor. You diggers all stand up for glory, stand up now.
Yeah, welcome back. I do like to try different tunes to start the show. I'll find one that I love in the future. But we're talking tonight about Arthur Rafferty Sr. He's shot dead by Freddie Scappaticci and the alleged PSNI and Ombudsman cover-up in Northern Ireland. We're talking to Arthur Rafferty Junior tonight. Just to let you know, part one was good and very good, and we're going to have part two now. We'll put it all together to YouTube and podcasts. It's on iTunes and freedomtalkradio.co.uk. So we're talking about why rogue Irish police officers colluded with the IRA during the Troubles and even stopped senior members being arrested. Former Republican intelligence chief claims. That was about the book I mentioned at the beginning of the first show. But it's interesting that Irish police tipped off the IRA about planned arrests and other little things. Maybe that's why you've got no justice for your particular cause. I know I did throw that question in the end of the last show that, you know, the inquiry into Scappaticci by Bolger from Bedfordshire Chief Constable Police, you know, is going to arrest people in the future. He says the IRA murders have got to be accounted for. But I said to you, why is your dad so important? Not to get justice for your dad, but all the other fathers will get justice. And yeah, I'm still a little bit baffled on that one, because why arrest 10 other people, or 2 people that killed 10 other victims, but for your particular father, they want to cover it up? You know, me personally, I've accepted the fact that they could have failures, like the police ombudsman, but destroying evidence is not a failure. That is corruption and collusion. It doesn't matter whether you're in 1974, 2024, or 1544. You know, they all use the same or similar methods. You know, the evidence, put it in a bag. Simple. Over to you, Arthur.
Just to add a wee bit on to what Michael McGuire says, the police ombudsman also discovered the RUC destroyed the weapon used in my father's murder, even though it had been used in 4 other different killings. The gunman's balaclava, boiler suit, gloves all disappeared, as did spent rounds of cartridges found at the scene of Arthur Rafferty's the crime. Also, Arthur Rafferty's clothes and jewellery. Now, the police ombudsman says it could find no rational reason as to why these items were destroyed or went missing. But Arthur Rafferty Jr. has no doubts about why this all happened to protect their IRA double agent Freddie Scappaticci. He ordered Scappaticci has protected from the moment he murdered my father. I hope to see him brought back to Belfast and put on trial. But let's face it, that isn't going to happen, because it would bring down Stormont and the whole of the British government and the police for employing people like him. Hundreds of people like him would have to be despondent. Now, Barra McCrory, says he's looking into it. He may as well look into a goldfish bowl because Scappaticci will be looked after until the day he dies. And that's my story of him. I have no faith at all in that police ombudsman because simple reason, if the name suits him, police ombudsman, he works for George Hamilton.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, I can understand if, we get a child abuse investigation or another investigation where they go to another police force for, help. That is a good practice. But when it involves 2 countries or 3 countries in some cases, because I've reported on other stories that involve 3 countries, I don't think the police should be able to investigate these type of stories. But having said that, what other body could investigate it? Because we know if we could get 2 people from each side of the problem and then, get a chairman who's official. But we rely on our law so much in our United Kingdom and Great Britain and Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland. We rely on our legal system, our lawful police system, too much, I think. And in the case of multiple murders by an organisation, and it wasn't just the IRA, I mean, let's face it, all the other groups were just equally murderers as they was, but it shouldn't be a police force investigating this. No court, no this, no that. It should be someone at least from abroad, from Europe or beyond, that has specialities in probably gun crimes, war crimes, maybe The Hague. Maybe they should have investigated this. Having said that, they're just as corrupt as... How can you get an independent agency or people to investigate such a wide problem, such as the Northern Ireland issues?
You're absolutely right there, Andy, because when you look at it, from my point of view, why should they bring British police over here to look into the RUC, who is run by the British government? If they had brought a foreign force in, a French force or somewhere. But no, to bring them in to look after what the RUC and also the British Army has been doing here for the past 40 years. They'll say no, they'll say nothing here, but it's costing the taxpayer millions of pounds.
And I hope the MPs in the London and UK government, the members of the Scottish Parliament, the members of the Northern Ireland Assembly, if you care to listen to this second part, I know with certain people you have to, put your statement in 2 lines, which, that's bloody horrific. It's not fair, to get someone's attention, you need to say it in 2 lines. Okay, then. Freddie Scappaticci murdered Rafferty Senior. Let's investigate. PSNI's covered it up, allegedly. I have to say allegedly, because I don't have anything to prove otherwise. But that's the 2 lines. But, if people only listen to the show properly, send an email, andy@freedomtalkradio.co.uk, or send a phone call to Arthur Rafferty. His phone number's all over the internet, the foundation, and the YouTube channel. Then we'll understand, what to do in the future, because you'll give us guidance. We're only assuming what's going on, but I'm sure Arthur knows in his heart that his dad was murdered by Scappaticci. Brendan was a good example of a witness, although he's dead now. But it was a good example. He had no reason not to tell the truth. And we already know that the Ombudsman said the IRA murdered Arthur Rafferty at 12 Newton Street in 1974 in August. So there you go.
That's what I'm saying, Andy. See, I'm fighting here alone battle here. I'm doing my best, but I told my father when he lay on his deathbed that I would sort his murder out, and I will. I know the man that murdered him. The police know the man that murdered him, but they can't say, yes, he worked for us, because that would put them in a position. The people in Britain would be saying, well, how can a so-called police force hire people like that, a mass murderer like that, and pay him out of the public purse, and know what he's doing is wrong, after all. And we voted sure to come out of the EU. It didn't do us any good. Britain overruled us again and says we're in it, and that's it. And as I'm saying, Andy, if you don't mind, I'll speak about that court case.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've got loads of time, half an hour plus, so carry on. I mean, we're just giving more examples of the intimidation that you've experienced. You've mentioned about the police stopping you a lot of times. You know, more than once a week, you've got bad luck, but 3 times a week, that's intimidation. Anyway, carry on about the court case.
That's what I'm saying, Andy. They have went out of their way just to harass and humiliate me and attempt to put me down. So if I died in the morning, they would have a party. They would say, well, he's gone. But a judge in the court here in Belfast asked me to come in and speak to her in the court. I wasn't in court, and I just outside the court. And she threatened me that her one of the lawyers that she knows, my granddaughter's taken a case against him for committing perjury against her. And she threatened me that if I didn't take his story off my YouTube, I would have to face the consequences of it. I also, what has that got to do with her? She didn't answer me. Now, about 2 months later, police were out looking for me. 2 police women. They got in contact with me. It says that a judge from the legacy courts has put a case against me. Has taken a case against me. And I said, what for? They wouldn't tell me. They wanted me to go to the police station and make a report, which I did. No problem. I made a report. They put it on tape. Apparently, this judge hacked into my site, my private site. People come to me and tell me their stories. It's a Rafferty Foundation, a victims group. She was able to hack into my site and take out 4 to 5 stories. And with the police, hand in hand, working together, made a story out of that. And they put that story in the hands of the PPS. That's the Public Prosecution Service. I don't call them that. I call them the Protestant Police Service, because they work for the police. The head constable is the top man there, and most of the staff are ex-police. And they came. I'll go to court there just 2 or 3 weeks ago. I didn't even get speaking in court. Never even asked me any questions at all. Fined me in £500 just to keep me quiet. And they're working hand in hand with their big brothers in the police to make sure that I keep quiet. But it won't keep me quiet. I'm here to fight for my father's justice, and he gets justice, I'll be happy. Over on day.
Yeah, what's interesting is they never even put it in. They never put it into Belfast court prosecutions on the internet. Neither did the media report on that.
No.
That's very strange.
Because on the PPS have no love for me at all. Because I've had 2 or 3 meetings with them. The time Bar McCoy was there. Done nothing for my father. Wouldn't even let my father have an inquest. And the Attorney General here in Northern Ireland wouldn't do an inquest on him. So they've done everything in their power to just adopt this case as if it never happened. But believe you me, I'll make sure that they know it did happen.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I'll be doing the same now for the next 4 to 6 weeks. I'll be making sure that everybody in the know knows. And after that, it's up to people talk really, and I can understand because I know the way they go with inquests. Even if there was an inquest, it would only confirm the obvious, shot dead by somebody, because inquests can't. They can't be the lawyer, they can't be the police investigating who did it, which is wrong, really. Our country's wrong. I think inquest should take that into account, who committed the crime, or at least, who, not so much the individual, but how they were murdered, if it was murder, or how they died if it wasn't murder. And the other relevant people involved. I mean, in the murder case, you'd make sure that the police were investigating. So that's what an inquiry would supposed to be. Sorry, not the inquiry. Oh God. Yeah, I'm losing my marbles. The post-mortem. Yeah. It should.
Ollie, the way I'm looking at it is, why are these people so interested in Arthur Rafferty Jr.? They have done everything in their power to stop me getting justice for my father. They've even involved the corrupt courts now, because the courts are run by the British government. And the lawyers and solicitors here, I can't even get one to take his case on. My father worked hard all his life at the Belfast docks, so therefore he is entitled to get legal aid. Yet they turned him down for that. And when I applied for legal aid on his case, they wouldn't give me it. So you have to put two and two together on and say they're doing everything in their power. So that's why.
Well,
my last stop is to take my case to Dublin, try and get the father's case brought to the European Court of Human Rights, where hopefully I will get some justice for my father.
Well, I was going to say normally you would expect some good service, but yeah, why do they do this? I don't really know. Just to read out, if anybody knows anything about the Scappaticci murders, and if you don't want to talk to us directly, yeah, do go into Operation Keneva. There's a phone number there, UK 01 234 858 298, or email kenova@met.police.uk. That's Keneva, kenova@met.police.uk. The bit I'm concerned with there, they give a Bedfordshire phone number, but a Met Police email address, which is very weird, because they're two separate organisations, or supposed to be. Yeah, really weird.
Only this is only a front for to let the people here see that they're doing something. What are they going to do? The new Scappaticci, they have him over there. As a matter of fact, he was up in court there recently over there with them, and the Met was with him. They take him to court, and he didn't come out the front door, he came out the back door. Everything's there to suit him. So that special branch police in 1974, every word he said to me on is the truth. He said, "I'm sorry, Arthur, you'll never get any satisfaction in your father's case. This man cannot be allowed to stand trial." And his words are true. And everything the police are doing, the courts are doing, these people are doing to me, it's just trying to shut me up. Anybody else? Now, I spoke to people all the time. I'm speaking to them in the Rafferty Foundation, and they are amazed at how long I'm staying. I'm here fighting these people. 44 years I've been fighting them, and they've hit me with everything bar the kitchen sink, but I'm still here. And I'm sure my father up above there is watching and saying, "There you are, the wee man's not going to give up."
Just for suppose just for reasons, is it nostalgia reasons? No. Just to show people how much you remember your dad or love your dad, and this is why you're doing it. Just give us a few examples of what you remember about your dad. And you said he was a dock worker and so on, and even bringing your mum for a little bit, things you remember about.
Only what I remember about my father, he was strict. He was a big man, and he feared no one. He worked at Belfast docks. He's a docker. He worked along with me and my brother Tommy. We were dockers. And I boxed amateur and professional. And his job was to carry my gear to the clubs, to the King's Hall, to the Ulster Hall. We boxed in Manchester. He was over with me. He loved doing that. He was there as if he was my trainer. And he enjoyed every minute of it. And for them, piece of scum from Sinn Féin IRA, they come and blew him away. They disgust me.
You was a boxer then, Arthur?
No, me. I was a boxer.
Yeah, you.
And he carried my gear. He watched me training. He tamed me. He dragged me down. Wherever I went, he went. And that's why I'm called after him, Arthur Joseph Rafferty. And plus, my wee granddaughter has a wee baby boy. And his name, Arthur Joseph Rafferty III. And I hope he grows up with the same temperament as me, because all these tapes, I have them all copied out from, so he'll be able to play them and get justice for his great-grandfather. Because my father was a worker, and he worked at the Belfast docks. The docks was packed with IRA, a.k.a. Sinn Féin IRA. You have to do what they tell you. They got the best of everything. My father fought them long and hard with me and my brother Tommy. We never agreed with them at all. And that was what caused him his death. And it took not one to do my father, it took 5 of them. With the help, of course, of the police and the army, because at that time, 1974, in Belfast, the Shankill butchers were murdering people left, right and centre. And all them streets in North Belfast was packed with Saracens, with tanks, with police on foot, with army on foot. Yet that night, when they murdered my father, they took him out of that pub and walked him round 500 yards round all them streets and shot 12 rounds at him. And 12 rounds from a normally rifle on there. At that time of the night, you must have been able to hear that all over Belfast. And there was 4 police stations within, one up the top of the Antrim Road, one in York Road, one in North Queen Street, and there was an army camp across the park just. And they had all that time to do that. No police, no nothing. That in itself makes it funny. You have to ask yourself, where was the police? Where was the army at that time? And I've asked the police that time and time again, got no response at all from them.
Yeah, because if that particular era, was notorious for the guns, we've seen it on TV. They're not just in one area; they're in every area. They're in every street. The protection, so-called protection, and. Why wouldn't they be? Certainly, they had to be, wouldn't they? If they're doing the job right, they have to be outside of that street in Newington Street, knowing that that's an IRA safe house.
Yeah,
they'd have to be somewhere near there, even if it wasn't the tanks or the... Yeah, because there was tanks. Well, I call them tanks. They look like tanks. They weren't tanks, but they were vans that looked like tanks. They should have been there, even if they wasn't. There would have been people there, the intelligence people, couldn't do anything. In fact, one person told me a couple of months ago on one of the other shows, you can't even let wind in Belfast without somebody else smelling it or seeing it. Yeah, in them days.
And as I said, at that time, the Shankill butchers were running mad in North Belfast. They were cutting people's throats and everything. and you couldn't get walking, but you were through against the wall. Who are you? Where are you going? And that's it. Yet at that time, he had all the time in the world to do that. They had all the time. Two of them coming out of the house, shooting 12 rounds at my father, walking back into the house, putting the gun away, close the door, walk down the street again, past my father, into a taxi, and down in the Lodge Road. They had all that time. Not one cop or one police about. You have to ask yourself, how did that happen?
I also wonder why, if that was a safe house, they didn't shoot your dad and then run back into the safe house.
Yeah.
Because that was easier than running down the street, maybe.
Well, it shows you that the police knew that was a safe house for them, and that they'd used that house time and time again to shoot people. And when they finished with it, they put their gun back in there. It's safekeeping. And even on I asked the police many times, did you ever go into the house and check the people who lives in it? Was it flats or what? Who was there? No response. They wouldn't answer them. To me, it seems it's a case of it's a whitewash right from the word go, and just my father was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, but if you lived in the docks, sorry, if you worked in the docks, his local pub was near, the street he was murdered in.
Yes.
And he was doing nothing less than just going to the pub on a normal day, as he did before, So he
But the
couldn't
only thing annoys me, and I've asked the police this time and time again, but they have never answered me. How was I left my father at 4:30 that day, finishing work? I left him round to a pub called Bonnie Volry's, a wee pub in the Dockland itself. And he usually drinks there to about 5:30 or 6 o'clock and then goes home. My father was taken out of that pub and brought up to a hole in the wall, which is up on the Antrim Road. And I've asked him why. Because the fellow never drank in that bar. He always drank in his own wee bar where all the dockers were.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to originally say he obviously wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time, but
no.
Now you've explained that he was in the wrong place.
Yeah, he was. It's not that he was in the wrong place. He was brought there.
Yeah. Intentionally.
And then they brought him from there round to Newington Street, and they murdered him. Like I wouldn't. My father, as I'm saying, Andy, was a hard mighty good faith. Because none of us, his sons, would even talk back to him. He would hit your thump very quick. But it took 5 of them to come and take my father out.
And he even survived that for a little while, didn't he, for a few days?
Well, he survived that for almost 4 weeks. The doctor told me in the hospital that night, when I went up about 9:30, 9:45. He said, Arthur, I'm sorry your father won't last the night. A strong, 5 bullets in him, an arm-lead rifle, high-velocity rifle, close range. It should have blew him in two, so it should. Yeah, he lasted almost 4 weeks.
He had truth on his side. That's why he lived longer.
But the death he got on there, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And why should that piece of garbage, Scappaticci, living over in London, lifted and led by the British government, treated nearly as one of their heroes? I'm surprised on I see in the paper, I read the paper all the time, hoping that the Queen knights him or something, because he would deserve that for all the work he done for the British government.
Yeah, worse things have happened.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't surprise me.
But it's not just him that murdered people either, is it? I mean, there's going to be others that murdered. Why are they not in the limelight? Like Scappaticci, we know he murdered people. It's not proven yet, but why isn't any other people in the limelight for murdering? Because he couldn't have done that all on his own.
No, he was told what to do only by the head, by the people above him. And they're running about now. One of them's down in Dublin, is a TD in Dublin, and the other ones here are working in Stormont, lifted and led by the British government, because they done work for the British government, and this is payback time.
No, I'm saying, but there must be other people like him that murdered others.
Oh, of course there is.
Why are they not on the... there is a few, I mean, I saw it on Facebook, you know, justice for different names, I've forgotten them now, but, yeah, it's very similar, but they're not, the people who murder these other people, they're not in the main press all the time. Just seems to be Scappaticci now. That smells in itself. Because...
Well, Scappaticci, you see, he was their page catch. He was the jewel in the crown of the RUC and the British government. He was the top man in the IRA. He was head of the Nothing Squad. And they recruited him. That was their page catch.
Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Let's say Joe Bloggs murdered 20 people.
Yep.
Peter Smith murdered 100 people. That's not important. We won't talk about that. Let's just talk about Scappaticci. And that
yes.
bit is unfair because there's other families equally important. We know this is a jewel in the crown, the gold one. If we can get one family about Scappaticci or one good witness, we know we're going to blow him in jail for the rest of his life. Yeah. Although he's probably going to end up getting away with it because of health or his age, which is not fair either.
That's wrong. That's right. Another thing on it, well, all my inquiries, because I've been inquiring, I've been walking the streets for years, looking for my father's murderers and what happened. Many people who I've met says Scappaticci was a psychopath. He loved questioning people and trying to pacify the people, saying they'd be okay. You sit there on the weekend back, and he went outside, and he came back in again. The people sitting down in the chair wondered back of the head. That was his favorite. Shoot them in the back of the head. So what type of a person is he? That's why the police have him and the British government have him as their jewel in the crown. When they got him working for them, they got the top man. And that's why nothing will ever happen to him. The only way he'll die is he'll die of maybe a heart attack or something. Because apparently he was in Manchester Hospital there recently. He took a heart attack.
Oh, okay. God's listening then.
Yeah.
Whoever God is, yeah, anyway.
Well, God's good.
Yeah, I mean, truth is good, and spiritual beings, and you know, we all have a God. It doesn't matter who they are, whether it be the God in the sky with Jesus being his son. You know, that's fine. Whether it's Jehovah's Witnesses, whether it's all the other religions, we all have a God, and it doesn't matter which one's which. Justice will be done one way or the other, but we want somebody to go to jail for this, or at least, you know, for this particular murder, be charged with it. Okay, we understand if people are ill themselves or, you know, they're old and they're dying, you know, they may not be put in jail, but at least the recognition of being charged with something that we know that's the truth, but we can't prove it, would help a little bit. It's a bit like your asbestosis as well. If only they acknowledge that.
I'm not wasting any more time. My father was murdered 44 years ago, and the police have not even arrested one person, brought nobody to court, nothing. They've just put this case on the shelf, a cold case. They want it kept quiet, and that's it. They want me to stop talking so they get out of it then.
We're not going to let that happen because...
Well, not as long as I live on it.
Even if we
have two serious illnesses, but it doesn't stop me.
Yeah, even if we only get 5 people to listen. I mean, so far there have been 299 on the first show and less on this show, 150 odd at the moment. But they've all been listening for 5 minutes or more. So we know we've opened up a debate tonight, and we'll keep on doing this. We're going to have another show tomorrow, the 11th of April, and we'll just keep doing this once or twice a week until, you know, we'll just find different angles. And what's really annoying is, and I keep repeating it, the Irish police tipped off the IRA about planned arrest. Now, that is bloody, that's not right either. You know, what did, I mean, maybe thick here, but what did Dublin or the Irish government in Dublin or the Irish police even have anything to do with tipping off the IRA? Yes, I knew it was a war about Irish being south and north, but you know, why would they go out of their way to stop the IRA people being arrested? Maybe that's where the root of the problem is, the Irish police.
Well, all we can do is keep playing on, you know.
We're going to have to keep doing it, you know, every single time. I'll change the titles every time, you know. I
appreciate that, Donnie, because without your help, you can't go to the papers here now, because everything you tell the papers, they have to ask the police and MI5, is it okay if we print that? They are handicapped now. There's no freedom of the press now, so it's not. That's why it takes shows like yours to bring this news to the public and let the public know what's happening behind closed doors here. The same as the courts we have here in Belfast, behind closed doors, kangaroo courts.
Well, like I said earlier on, we'll do tomorrow night's show, and I'm out all day because what I've told you during the break, you know, I've got to be out all day to see my daughter, but I'll be here, you know, at 7:45, and we'll do the show again. And you know, even if we only get half an hour to talk, we'll get half an hour. If we get 2 hours, we'll talk for 2 hours. The important thing is, with Google, is to change the title of the shows. So tonight's show is called, second half is called Rogue Irish Police Officers Colluded with the IRA during the NI Northern Ireland Troubles. The earlier one was Arthur Rafferty shot dead by Freddie Scappaticci, alleged PSNI and Ombudsman cover-up. And then tomorrow I found two other ways of doing it. Yeah, Google doesn't lie. He'll put the, you know, Google being a search engine, they'll put that story into people's faces, especially when you talk to Scappaticci. But I will urge, you know, the Chief Inspector of Bedfordshire, get in touch with me. You know, I request that in an email. Let's see if we can move forward on getting justice for Arthur Rafferty Senior, because that would prove, you know, that these people are good people. But if they can't, then they can't. Then that means, you know, the inquiry is going to waste multi-millions of pounds. The biggest inquiry in UK and Ireland history, you know, for long. In fact, it's probably the biggest inquiry cost ever. But why use the police force? That is my problem with that.
Yes.
You know, why not use another organisation? I'm not sure which one, but maybe an ombudsman service that's in Europe or even in South Africa, even Australia, even. But somebody independent of the problems. But they use a police force. We know from a lot of stories that the police ombudsman service in Northern Ireland, in England it's called the police complaint service, or the IPCC. Yeah. They're now changed to another name. But all these services, and I've done a freedom of information request, and simply I asked if your local police, the Police Complaints Commission, the MP in the area and the government, for that MP, blah, 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 about 12 different questions, and European called Interpol and the international police as well. Sorry, that is the international police, but the Europol and health people in Europe and so on are corrupt, and they're all colluding with each other. What the hell can we do? And there's not one police force, not one organisation that I emailed, and I've done about 2,000 of them. They all come back and said, well, that's not our remit. You need to talk to them. I've already talked to them. And they said the same. That's not our remit. We can't deal with that. Ask them. And that is where you get a cover-up. I don't think they're doing it deliberately. I mean, let's face it. We're talking about the when countries and different organisations are involved. I don't think it's a cover-up. But you would have thought that one agency could have dealt with that. We do have the National Crime Agency, but they're as corrupt as they come. So
you see, all you have to look at is Princess Diana's murder in England.
Absolutely.
No one's charged. No one brought to court. That's it. Something like my father. They just wanted to go away. And all the police forces they have in England, they can't sort that out because they're told not to.
Yeah, because, I mean, what happened on that case, I've only got 2 minutes, but I mentioned that at the beginning of the last show, I think, different cases where it's unsolved. Well, Princess Diana was allegedly murdered because the drunken chauffeur was drunk and he whatever. Then they go for the paparazzi. It's their fault. But no, she was murdered, end of.
Of course she was murdered, and the people, the dogs in the street know that. Yet all so-called police forces, Scotland Yard is supposed to be the best police force in the world. No one calls about it. Same as a poor fella here, murdered by these fucking scum here. Not one brought to justice for it.
Jill Dando was murdered as well, not by the person that got charged for it. In both cases, they wanted to bring down the royal family and the Rothschilds for money laundering and child abuse. But, they get murdered, they get shut up. So they bring in Camilla Parker Bowles and that new one on the block, the lady who was supposed to be pregnant. She probably is pregnant, but it wasn't by natural means. But anyway, that's another story.
Oh, certainly,
Welcome to Freedom Talk Radio with your host, Andy Peacher.